Hello everyone, I am Darshini, Assistant Professor of Mathematics. In the previous sessions, we have learnt about limit of a function and their properties. In this session, we are going to discuss two things. The first, we are going to discuss about bounded functions. In that, we define what is the infimum of a function and what is the supremum of a function. And later, we shall discuss about continuous functions. We are going to learn what are the points of continuity, what are the points of discontinuity of a function, and we are going to learn what are the types of discontinuities, and let us see some examples as well. Let's get in. First, let me define bounded function. A function f of x, on an interval AB, on a closed interval AB, is said to be bounded if there exist real numbers m and capital M such that m less than or equal to f of x less than or equal to capital M for all x belongs to AB. If this is true, we say that f of x is a bounded function on the closed interval a comma b. Here capital M is known as an upper bound for this function. Small m is known as a lower bound for this function. Here m is an upper bound for f of x and small m is a lower bound for f of x. If m is an upper bound, any value greater than m is also an upper bound. If small m is a lower bound, any value less than m is also a lower bound. Now suppose if I take capital K as the maximum of mod m and mod m, then I can write here f of x is less than or equal to m. Since k is the maximum of mod m and mod m, this is definitely less than or equal to capital K. And since f of x is greater than or equal to m and k is the maximum of mod m and mod m, this is greater than or equal to minus k. So if I combine this, I can write here this is positive. This implies mod f of x is less than or equal to k for all x belongs to AB. So I can redefine a bounded function like this. A function f of x on a closed interval a comma b is said to be bounded if there exists a real number k greater than 0 such that mod f of x is less than or equal to k for all x belongs to AB. Now let us define what is the infimum of a function and what is the supremum of a function. Let us consider a bounded function. Let f of x be a bounded function on AB. Then by the definition of bounded function, it has a lower bound and it has an upper bound. This implies there exists m and m belongs to R such that m less than or equal to f of x less than or equal to capital M for all x belongs to AB. Here m is a lower bound, capital M is an upper bound. As I said earlier, lower bound for a function is not unique. Among all the lower bounds of this function, we can find the greatest lower bound. That greatest lower bound is known as the infimum of this function. Similarly, for all upper bounds, if I consider the least upper bound, and it is known as the supremum of the function. Let me define formally. Infimum, it's also known as greatest lower bound. For a bounded function f on closed interval AB, M is said to be the infimum or greatest lower bound if it satisfies two conditions. The first condition is M is a lower bound of f of x in the interval AB, and the second condition is this should be the greatest lower bound. That means if M dash is greater than M, then M dash is not a lower bound of f of x in AB. Similarly, we can define supremum. Supremum is also known as least upper bound. For a bounded function f of x in an interval AB, we say that M is the supremum or least upper bound of f of x if it satisfies two conditions. The first condition is M is an upper bound of f of x in the interval AB, and the second condition, capital M should be the least upper bound. That means if M dash is less than M, then M dash is not an upper bound of f of x in AB. Sometimes for a function f of x on an interval AB, if I have an upper bound but if I don't have a lower bound, then I say that f of x is bounded above but not bounded below. If I have a lower bound but if I don't have an upper bound, then I can say that it is bounded below but not bounded above. If the function is both bounded above and bounded below, then f of x is said to be a bounded function. So to define the infimum of the function should be bounded below. To define the supremum of the function should be bounded above. If it is a bounded function, we can define both infimum and supremum. If you observe here, upper bound is not unique for a function, lower bound is not unique for a function, but infimum and supremum both are unique for a given function on a given interval. Suppose if we consider an unbounded function, we say that supremum is plus infinity and infimum is minus infinity. If we consider a function which is not bounded below, then the infimum is minus infinity. If we consider a function which is not bounded above, then the supremum is plus infinity. Now let us discuss about continuous function. Let me consider two graphs. The first graph is this in this interval AB, and the next graph is in the interval AB, this one. If I observe these two graphs, the first observation we can identify is I can draw this graph without lifting my pen, but to draw this graph I have to lift my pen. Such functions are known as continuous functions and such functions are known as discontinuous functions informally. So now I consider this graph in this interval AB. If you observe this graph, only at this point I have to lift my pen. If I consider this interval, this function is continuous. I don't have to lift my pen to draw this graph in this interval. Similarly, in this interval, I don't have to lift my pen to draw this graph. So we have two things here. One is points of continuity and points of discontinuity. Since I have to lift my pen at this point is point of discontinuity. If I consider this point C1. When drawing this graph, I don't have to lift my pen at this point to draw this graph. So this point is point of continuity and this point is point of discontinuity. Now let us define formally what is a point of continuity and point of discontinuity. Consider this graph and I consider this point. We can observe by the graph that the function f of x is continuous at this point. So this is a point of continuity. If I consider the left hand limit, if I approach c from the left hand side, this increases and approaches this point. This is f of c. So the left hand limit at c is f of c. Similarly, if I consider the right hand limit, if I approach c from the right hand side, the function decreases and approach f of c. So the RHL is also equal to f of c. Since LHL and RHL both equal to f of c, with the definition of limit exists at this point, and we can write, since LHL equal to RHL, we have limit of f of x as x tends to c is equal to f of c. This is the mathematical definition of continuity at a point. We say that a function f of x is continuous at a point c if limit of f of x as x tends to c exists and is equal to f of c. Continuity at a point. Let f of x be a function on an interval ab. Let c be a point in this interval. Let c be a point in this interval. We say that f of x is continuous at x equal to c if limit of f of x as x tends to c exists and is equal to f of c. But I know that limit of f of x exists at x equal to c only when LHL exists and RHL exists and they are equal. So in other words, limit of f of x as x tends to c minus, that is the left hand limit at c, is equal to the right hand limit x tends to c plus is equal to f of c. Using this we can define epsilon delta definition for continuity at a point. A function f of x is said to be continuous at x equal to c if for every epsilon positive there exists delta positive such that mod of f of x minus f of c less than epsilon whenever mod of x minus c less than delta. Now you know about continuity at a point. If the function is not continuous at that point, then we say that it is a point of discontinuity. That is points of discontinuity. Let f of x be a function on AB. F of x be a function on AB. And let C be a point in this interval. Let C be a point in this interval. Suppose if f is not continuous at x equal to c, then we say that c is a point of discontinuity. Then we say that C is a point of discontinuity. If f is continuous at x equal to c, then LHL exists, that is limit of x tends to c minus f of x exists, and is equal to limit of f of x as x tends to c plus and is equal to f of c. This happens when f of x is continuous at x equal to c. But since f of x is not continuous, then this is not true. So we have two cases here. I can define two types of discontinuity. If LHL and RHL both exist, either they are not equal or equal to each other but not equal to f of c, then we say that C is a discontinuity of first kind. This is discontinuity of first kind. If LHL or RHL, either one of them does not exist or both does not exist, then we say that the discontinuity is of second kind. Okay. You know what is the points of discontinuity and what is the point of continuity. Now we shall define continuous function. A function f of x defined on an interval a b, a function f of x on a b is said to be continuous if f of x is continuous at every point of AB. For example, if I take f of x equal to x on 0, 1, it is a continuous function. If I draw the graph of this function, I get here like this. This is 0, 1. At each point, this function is continuous. If a function is not a continuous function, then it is known as discontinuous function. Now let us consider an example. Show that the function f of x equal to c, where c is a constant, is a continuous function on closed interval 0, 1. For epsilon positive, let me consider an arbitrary element a belongs to 0, 1 and consider mod of f of x minus f of a. By the definition of f of x, this is equal to mod of c minus c, which is equal to 0. Since epsilon is positive, this is less than epsilon. So if we take delta equal to epsilon, we can write that for epsilon positive, there exists delta positive such that mod of f of x minus f of a less than epsilon whenever mod of x minus a less than delta. So by the definition of continuity, f of x is continuous at x equal to a. Since a belongs to 0, 1 is arbitrary, f of x is continuous at every point of 0, 1. So f of x is a continuous function on closed interval 0, 1. Let us consider the next example. Discuss the type of discontinuity at x equal to 0 for the function f of x equal to sin x by x if x is not equal to 0, 0 if x equal to 0. First let me consider limit of f of x as x tends to 0. This is equal to limit of sin x by x as x tends to 0. We know that this is equal to 1. Clearly 1 is not equal to 0, which is the value of f of x at x equal to 0. This is not equal to 0, which is the value of f of x at x equal to 0. We have shown that limit of f of x exists and is equal to 1, but it is not equal to f of 0. Therefore, f of x has discontinuity at x equal to 0 of first kind. Consider one more example. Discuss the type of discontinuity at x equal to 0 for the function f of x equal to e power 1 by x if x is not equal to 0, 0 if x equal to 0. First, let us find out the left hand limit. LHL is equal to limit of f of x as x tends to 0 minus. To find the LHL, we substitute x equal to 0 minus h and let h tends to 0. This is equal to limit of f of 0 minus h as h tends to 0, which is equal to limit of e power of minus 1 by h as h tends to 0. As h tends to 0, I get e to the power of minus infinity, which is equal to 0. Okay. Now consider the right hand limit. Limit of f of x as x tends to 0 plus. This is equal to limit of f of 0 plus h as h tends to 0. By the definition of f of x, this is equal to limit of e to the power of 1 by h as h tends to 0. When I take limit as h tends to 0, I get here infinity. So the RHL is not defined, that is RHL is not defined, and hence f of x has a discontinuity at x equal to 0 of second kind. It is x equal to 0 is a discontinuity of second kind. Therefore, x equal to 0 is a discontinuity of second kind. Now let us know some properties of continuous function. If a function f of x, if f of x and a function g of x both are continuous at a point x equal to c, that is limit of f of x as x tends to c is equal to f of c, and limit of g of x as x tends to c is equal to g of c, then limit of f plus g of x as x tends to c will be equal to limit of f of x as x tends to c plus limit of g of x as x tends to c, and this is equal to, by this we have, this is equal to f of c plus g of c, f of c plus g of c, which is equal to f plus g of c. In other words, f plus g is continuous at x equal to c. So we have shown that if f is continuous at c and g is continuous at c, f plus g is also continuous at c. Similarly, we can show that limit of f minus g of x as x tends to c is equal to f minus g of c, limit of fg of x as x tends to c is equal to fg of c. Also, limit of f by g of x as x tends to c is equal to f by g of c, provided g of c is not 0. So if f and g are continuous functions, then f plus g is a continuous function, f minus g is a continuous function, fg is a continuous function, f by g is also a continuous function, provided that g is not 0. So we have the following observations. We know that f of x equal to x is a continuous function, and using the algebra we can easily check that every polynomial function is a continuous function.